We are now live on Facebook. Good
Okay.
evening, everybody. Welcome to Karwan. This is Ishan Sharma. And this evening, we are here to discuss a beautiful book that is just released by Penguin Iburi Press called Life and Death of Sambhaji, with the beautiful illustration of Sambhaji himself on the cover by Shantanu Salunkhe. So I would, before beginning, I would request Medaji to just hold the book so that we can launch the book on this platform. So this is the book by Penguin, and we'll talk about Sambhaji this evening. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you,
So
Ishan, for inviting me.
yeah, so Medha ji is a microbiologist and has worked for food and pharmaceutical companies in marketing as well as business development in Germany, India, and the UAE. She has written articles on variety of medical subjects for leading newspapers in India as well as in the Gulf. She's the author of Chhatrapati Shivaji's best-selling biography called Challenging Destiny, that was nominated in two categories as Raymond Crossword Book Award in 2017 in a popular non-fiction and biography section. Challenging Destiny is now available on Audible and different platforms, so you all can go and read that book along with this book of Sambhaji. She also wrote Frontiers, which is a historical novel which is also her first work of fiction. And this Life and Death of Sambhaji is the second work, I think, if I'm not wrong, second work of historical fiction by Medhaji. So Medhaji, welcome to the session. Thank you so much for
Thank
agreeing to
you.
do this. First of all, I'll start with your transition from a microbiologist to a historian to a history fiction writer. How do you see that journey?
Yeah, so it is I loved as a child to dabble in Marathi poetry. I was educated in Marathi medium, so I wrote poetry in Marathi. And I loved, then when I shifted to Germany, I realized that I love writing letters to my people. So whenever I was writing, I was very happy. Later on, I came back to India and joined pharmaceutical industry. And there was not much chance other than doing content for medical advertising for pharmaceuticals, which I became quite trained, quite proficient by practice. Then when I got married and I had two little children, and with the children we shifted to Dubai. Yeah, my husband and my two kids, and there I just did not get any job. I was shocked. I was qualified and in pharmaceuticals I had very good track record, but there was no job available. So I thought I just sitting at home was very boring. So I wrote an article on hypertension and went to Khaleej Times office. There are the very famous newspapers and Gulf News. And I really like you know, some beggar actually. I went, please, this is the article and I would like to work with you. So they said to me that if you want to write Mrs. Medha Bhaskaran, then you have to take another name, like for example, an English name, you see, or an American name, so that people will read your book. I mean, your articles. So I said that will not do. I will not change my name. I would like to have a byline as Medha Bhaskaran. So 1 year I did not, nobody published my article. Then there was a Khaleej Times, one a lady had joined. She is half British and half Indian, and she was very proud of her Indian heritage. So Sara Adhikari. So I went to her and she said, of course you can write with your own name, you see, and I will accept. And then there was no looking back. After that, I wrote about 400 articles for every week. I wrote for several years. And you know how when you write in a magazine in a place like UAE, it's a small place. So you become popular. And then people started calling me for various lectures. Pharmaceuticals started calling me for lectures. And then I got a good job also with that, my writing, which I attributed for my writing. But after so much of medical writing and jobs in pharmaceutical, I got quite fed up with medical writing. It becomes repetitive. And I was also not very fond of attending parties. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with parties. Okay. There's nothing wrong. Those who enjoy, it's good. But for me, I used to be quite bored and I was quite at, I didn't know what to say to whom and what. I was very good in presentations and,
Hmm.
product presentations, but not in these social parties.
Yeah.
So I said, why? And a lot of time uh, they look down upon India, NRI crowd. Of course, we are dirtier. We have no discipline, road discipline, and we spit on the road. Of course, we do all that. But I said, if I can't do anything for my country, what right do I have to curse all the time? You see, finally we have to come back. We are not,
Yeah.
we don't get residence visa in the UAE. So I said, what can I do? I don't have much money to give it to somebody, to give it for charity. Neither I have time with two boys at home to go and work for somebody in India. So I said, what can I do? I said, if I can write, so I can write about somebody who is a great personality where the younger generation can benefit from that. So
Hmm.
being a Maharashtrian, why not Chhatrapati Shivaji? He was the only first time, the first time the
Yeah.
thought came,
Yeah.
Chhatrapati Shivaji was there in front of me. So, and I didn't even know whose son was Aurangzeb, my history knowledge. So then I wrote to my parents and I asked them to collect books for me. So they
Hmm.
collected 50, 60 history books in
Wow.
Marathi from
Yeah.
Pune and put it in the bag and they came to Dubai along with that cargo. So then it was so nice, Eshan, to go into 17th century and hide from the problems of today's life, you see. So I started reading the books. That was in 2000,
Yeah.
1999, 2000. And I started making small drafts, writing. And they were so stupid and silly draft because writing an article
Hmm. Hmm.
as youngsters, I would
Hmm.
like to tell you, writing an article is entirely different than writing a book.
Book. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
two ball,
Hmm.
it's two different
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
So initial 7, 8 years, I was because it is difficult to write history, and but the reading about
Hmm.
I just wanted to read about even Chhatrapati Shivaji's biggest enemies,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started studying about them, and then the history started coming into my system then, but not writing. And it was a big learning curve. What I want to tell you also, if you maybe from a vernacular medium, but if you have a passion to tell a story, and if you are a good storyteller, okay, and if you have perseverance, then language can be learnt. Languages can be learnt. Okay. So that is one more thing I would like to tell my audience today. And that way, in 2012, I had to come back to India to look after my parents. My boys were big and they were on their own. So I had to come back and look after them. And then I prayed to all my drafts were rejected by 100 publishers and agents. Okay. Reject, reject, reject. So I prayed to God actually show me the way. And the God showed me the way how to write historical fiction. So this is how my transition from it has taken me about 18 to 19 years to come to this position, to have a good publisher
Yeah.
backing me and my books are liked by people.
Yeah.
So this has taken many years of work. So this was my transition.
That's an amazing journey, actually,
Yeah.
Medhaji. And coming to the book of Sambhaji, and you have written about Shivaji in your book, Challenging Destiny.
Yeah.
How how do you see these two characters of Chhatrapati Shivaji and Chhatrapati Sambhaji? What are the distinctions between the more tolerant and chivalrous practices of Shivaji and the more pragmatic and brutal practices, if we call, of Sambhaji? Sambhaji is sometimes a misunderstood character of history. How do you see those?
Yeah. That's a very nice question, Eshan. Thank you. The one we have to be very clear about, that there was nobody like Chhatrapati Shivaji in this 1,000 years. So you cannot judge his son and take his, take him as a yardstick. So it is not possible. So Chhatrapati Shivaji was visionary. Okay, he had great visions. If you read my Challenging Destiny, you will understand that the military practice he did, there was no military practice like this, the way he created, in India at least. So it had chain of command. Like we have now what uh, marshal, brigadier, and then we have general, then we have major general, then we have lieutenant general, or lieutenant general and major general, and then we have brigadier, then we have so many others, like colonel and then major. That kind of system, chain of command, was not existing in the Mughal army, or even Vijayanagara Empire army, or Adil Shahi army, or Qutub Shahi army. This was first time created in India by Chhatrapati Shivaji, this kind of chain of command. So he had a vision, and he did not want to depend on the Watandars. Watandars are the hereditary collectors of, there was only one industry then. Which was the industry then? Those days, only one industry, that is agriculture. Okay, the major tax, the legitimate money to the kingdoms used to come from agriculture. So the tax collectors were hereditary collectors. The Patil, who was a head of a village, and Deshmukh, who was a head of 10 villages or 20 villages, they used to collect, and their sons and their sons and their sons will become Watandars. So sometimes these people had become very powerful. They had built fortresses, and they had their own sentinels. So Chhatrapati Shivaji was the only person who knew, if he does not demolish this, because he also was a son of such a Jagirdar, and he could rebel against his king. So he said, if this system is not demolished, the king will be only a titular head, and the entire power will be in the hands of Watandars. And then in between there were Jagirdars. The king used to give, or the emperor used to give, if you are a Jagirdar Eshan, I give you 1,000 villages. Okay, you control the Watandars, and you control and collect the see that they collect taxes, take a part of it, and maintain a cavalry for me. Okay, and when I need the cavalry, you please come and help me. This system was demolished by Chhatrapati Shivaji, and he created a military and a chain of command. He was the only man in those 1,000 years in India who dreamt of this. So you cannot compare him with anybody else, you see. So it will not be fair to Sambhaji Raja to compare him with his father, who was an absolutely different visionary. So, but Sambhaji himself was very brave, and you have read in that book, but he was not a visionary. He was a brave soldier. He was obedient. He wanted to do something for his country. So that is why I have dedicated this book to all those warriors and not the visionaries who made supreme sacrifice to change history. You see? Yeah. So it is not, you can't compare these two characters. It's just not possible. But I can tell you one thing. He was very, very good looking, like his father. And even he was taller than his father. And he was like, had the same charm. Yeah, but you can't compare him with his father. You see?
So, do you think Sambhaji is misunderstood in Maratha history?
Yeah, so I had to do a lot of research for that. I will tell you how you do research in history, in Maratha history. So there were something called Bakhars, written those days. In one Bakhar was written in 17th century, and one Bakhar was written in 19th century. Those two Bakhars, first was written by Sabhasat, and second was written by Malhar Chitnis. And Bakhars are always commissioned by patrons. Okay, always commissioned. So, and the Bakhars are written in prose, and they are exaggerated prose. and there are no references at the end. Okay, there in the first Bakar, the Sabhasad doesn't say much, not much about Sambhaji's bad characteristics. But am I okay? My angle is okay. But in second, that Malhar Chitnis's Bakar, he was actually commissioned by someone from the Chhatrapati's lineage, and he wrote exaggerated things like, for example, Sambhaji was a womanizer. He writes Kone Eke Divshi, that someday, some women came to Raigad, and Sambhaji attacked one beautiful woman. Someday, some woman. So that kind of reference is incorrect. Who was the woman? What was her name? Who was she related to? Nothing is given. So this kind of reference, but you have to read them. Then based on that, Sir James Grant Duff, you must have heard about his name. He wrote a Maratha history fully. And I think his entire opinion or his opinions were based on the Bakars which were written by the Maratha. So even that they talk about his cruelty, they talk about his womanizing, they could talk about he practiced witchcraft, and he was too much attached to one of his sardars, Kalash. You know, he's who had come from the north. Actually, what has happened is Kalash and Sambhaji had met in the north, and when Kalash came to and Sambhaji learnt Braja Bhasha from Kalash. So when Kalash came to the south to be with Sambhaji, the locals did not like him. You see? And there were a lot of things that he was an alcoholic, substance abuse, and whatever is written. And there are no references. Because Sir Grant Duff may have some references, and that references are the Sabhasad references, which are not based on any references. Then there were Marathi fiction writers also joined in, you know, some fiction writers also exaggerated things, saying that there was a movie also that one girl called Kamla or Manjula was, you know, molested by him, and she died in Panhalgad, and there is a samadhi or tomb of hers. So later on, when they researched, that tomb was built on Peshwa, 100 years, the material used was 100 years, existed 100 years after Sambhaji Raja was killed. So then there are many other Sardesai, then Shejwalkars I read, then Yadunath Sarkar, you must be knowing him. Yadunath Sarkar, he also wrote bad about Sambhaji and his characteristics. But Sir Yadunath Sarkar spent 50 years as a history student or a history buff, I'll tell you. Sir Yadunath Sarkar spent 50 years in studying Mughal history, especially Aurangzeb. And his knowledge of Maratha history is a byproduct of his study on the Mughals. So it is not the product, it's the byproduct. So I was a little confused when I wanted to write about Sambhaji, and I didn't want to character assassinate him. He had been assassinated by Aurangzeb. He has been killed by Aurangzeb in various ways, first the tongue and the eyes, and I didn't want to add on to it and assassinate his character further. So I started studying the modern references. Dr. Bendre. This Dr. Bendre spent 42 years in studying Sambhaji and unearthed a lot of things about him. And I wrote a book. And he saved Sambhaji Raja from further character assassination. Then I read a book written by Dr. Kamla Gokhale. Okay, she did her doctorate in Sambhaji and full of references. Tamrapatra references, Muslim Islamic writer references, Islamic historian references, and then Modi language references. They unearth actually. And then there was Shivte, Jwala Jwalanta Sambhaji he is written. So those books I studied, and those books were studied and analyzed by Dr. Jaisingh Rao Pawar. And then I realized what the truth is. If he was a womanizer I'll just ask you, think, and then you have to think logically also. You cannot just read itihas or you just read history and say, okay, this is correct. You have to have some logic in you to understand and write story. So if I ask you, if you were a Sarnaubat, if you were the Maratha army chief, okay, and if Sambhaji was a womanizer, a substance abuser, and if he was Sambhaji Raja was, cruel, would you back him? Simple logic. And if you were cruel, if you were cruel, would you keep your 10-year-old brother who can claim your throne alive? Will you? No. Sambhaji Raja could have easily killed his brother, but he didn't. In fact, he got him married to a very brave, his own army chief's daughter. So all this logic doesn't fit, It just, somewhere it doesn't fit all this. That he was a cruel and then he fought wars. There are historical references. How he fought with the Portuguese. So it is, then I thought logically about this whole scenario and created and they say he killed his ministers. But first time, why did he kill his ministers? He's just not a madman, just go and kill his ministers. There has to be some reason. So I started following the reason and I have written in my book. Now, everything I cannot tell you, Eshan. People have to read my book.
How do you see, you have talked about Sambhaji as a warrior as of now. How do you see Sambhaji as an administrator who inherited a very big empire, the Maratha Empire?
No,
from his father.
when Sambhaji inherited, that empire was not so big. They had some eastern coast, western coast, and of course, big means yes, they had 350 or 400 hill, sea, and land forts because they had acquired 50 forts from Carnatic country also. And they had 50,000 infantrymen, cavalrymen, 50,000 infantrymen, and the what you call Shibandi, the army which is based in the forts. So that was, you can call it an empire, but not like Mughal Empire. It was an empire. But when he came to, actually, as last interview also I have said this, it was not Game of Thrones, it was like Crown of Thorns. He inherited. And he hardly had the time for administration. Within 2 years, Badshah Aurangzeb came from Rajasthan. Actually, he was based in Rajasthan and fighting wars with Marwar and Mewar that time. He comes with his 200,000 cavalry, okay, equal number of animals, and 300,000 infantry, and which includes hangers on and artillerymen, European artillerymen, and light artillery. They just descend on the Deccan. So where is the time for administration to show his administrative capabilities? There is no time. And what has happened, I'll tell you. He was you can call him unlucky, but you cannot call him cruel. Why unlucky? Because Chhatrapati Shivaji depended on his ministers for a lot of brain work. See, Anna Datto was a sharp person who could collect he could control the revenue department. Who collected taxes, and he knew how to distribute the salary. Okay, but what happened? The ministers went against Sambhaji. So he did not have Sambhaji Raja. So he did not have the brain, but he had the backing of the military. See, you cannot be an administrator without backing.
Yes.
So he was like, there are two wheels of a cart. So administration, which was depending on these ministers, the revenue minister, the tax collecting minister, and these people, And another is the army. So army backed him. But
not the administrator.
But they are administrator. So he lost that, you see. So and it is difficult. It was difficult for him immediately. Not Chhatrapati Shivaji or no other Maratha king has faced the total invasion of the Mughals
Yes.
like Sambhaji Raja faced.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't judge him really in that way.
Hmm.
You see, in that whatever limited resources he had, because then there was
And there
no
were Portuguese also at that same time.
Portuguese, the
Yeah.
English, they were all playing their own
Yeah. Yeah.
political games, you know.
Hmm.
And then there were the Bijapurians and the Kutub Shahi people and the Adil Shahi people. They
Hmm.
changed colors like chameleon when the time came, you know. They changed colors.
Hmm.
In between, they helped each other and then they changed colors.
Hmm.
So this is how he. We cannot really talk about the administrative capacity
Yeah.
of Sambhaji Raja in this scenario. You see,
Yeah. In this context, yes.
in this context,
You in your previous book Frontiers, which happens to be a non-fiction, uh,
it's
how
fiction. Frontiers
oh,
is
it's
fiction.
a historical fiction. Yes, your
Yeah,
first
this is
historical
a
fiction.
historical
Yes,
fiction.
yes.
This is a
You
historical
have
fiction.
told the tale of Shivaji and Aurangzeb.
Yes.
So how do you see that the confrontations that they had with each other? How did that turn up?
Yeah. So they confrontation means they met only once in a lifetime. Once only for 5 minutes. That's about all. So that they did not have the war front confrontation per se. They they were not having. They did not have the Aurangzeb did not descend. Bacha Aurangzeb did not descend on Deccan in Shivraj's or Chhatrapati Shivaji's lifetime.
Yes, yes.
But yes, they were if Chhatrapati Shivaji knew if he has the Deccan has to fall in the hands of Bacha Aurangzeb,
Yeah.
then they will have to have a life of a secondary or tertiary citizen.
Hmm.
It was nothing about religion.
Hmm.
But if Bacha Aurangzeb ruled Deccan,
Yeah.
then all the Deccanites will have to be the way Bacha Aurangzeb wanted them to be.
Hmm.
They
So you are pointing out a very important thing, that it was not about religions, because
no,
nowadays many extreme groups say that it was for the Hindu nation, Hindu Rashtra,
no, no,
and
no, no. I have not used that word
yeah,
any
yeah,
time in this or in my challenging destiny. No Hindu Rashtra.
yeah, yeah. So you challenge that notion that it was not such. It was about administration only, and
No, like for example, even I feel
yeah,
Bacha Aurangzeb also was very shrewd. Okay, he used the facade of religion to win orthodox hearts. Okay, what he wanted, why he went to Marwar and Mewar,
hmm,
actually the system of Mansabdari system, they had to give land and ask the Mansabdar,
hmm,
make a Mansabdar a Jagirdar and ask him to keep cavalry
hmm, hmm,
whenever the emperor wanted. So this cavalry, how many Mansabdars you think Bacha Aurangzeb when he came to power, how many Mansabdars were there? 8,000 Mansabdars. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Out of that, 5 to 6,000 were given land.
hmm,
That means 80% of the Mughal Empire was the land. 80% of the Mughal Empire's land
yeah, yeah,
was under the Mansabdars. Okay. That's it. And 20% also only for the Bacha. Whatever revenue he got from that 20% land, they built Taj Mahals and they built blah blah and Fatehpur Sikrika and whatever,
hmm, hmm,
the
hmm.
forts, Agra Fort or the
The miscellaneous things. Yeah,
miscellaneous things. They built and they lived very,
yeah.
very luxurious life.
Uh,
So at one point, Bacha Aurangzeb had no land left to give to Mansabdars. How
hmm,
does he expand the army?
hmm,
Okay. So he was eyeing Rajasthan and he was eyeing Deccan. Now,
Hmm.
Rajasthan also has mountains in the middle. I forget the names of those mountains, if you
Hmm.
remember. One mountain. I have written in this book how Rajputs also fought. And the and here the Marathas, they had the
Hmm.
mountains.
Hmm.
It was very difficult for the Mughals because they depended on heavy duty cavalry, the helmet and
The West. Yeah.
the vest,
Yeah. Yeah.
metal vest, and
Hmm.
so it was impossible for them to fight in the mountains.
Hmm.
So if Marathas were not eliminated, Badshah Aurangzeb would not get the Deccan.
Hmm.
Even during the War of Succession, he became too religious and he won all the hearts of the Orthodox. When Dara Shikoh was also discussing Aristotle, Pluto philosophy with Hindu Pandits and all, so he was
Hmm.
like, what? Haram. So from that time, he started acting his role. Aurangzeb, he knew
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
he can win the heart of the Orthodox warriors,
Yeah.
then he can have the power.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
of course, he was good in the battlefields.
Hmm. Hmm.
So he wanted the land of the Deccan and land of Rajasthan for expanding his empire and have
Hmm.
more mansabdars.
Yeah.
So that he can give jagirs to them. So, and then he played on jihad, the card of jihad. So he knew it will help him. So it was religion was used by them. Okay. And it's still used by powerful men and women to achieve what they really want, perception. Religion, if you are so much in love with religion, in Frontiers, one of the dialogues is there. Ibrahim Khan tells Chhatrapati Shivaji, if he's so much in love with his religion,
Hmm.
he should become a peer or a fakir. You see, isn't it? Why would he be fighting wars? If
Yeah.
he's so much in religion, so much, the politicians are so much loving with religion, they should be priests and do something for the poor people. Am I right or wrong?
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Yeah.
And that's what. So
Uh,
everybody is using religions, and our Badshah Aurangzeb used it. Chhatrapati Shivaji never used religion. He
hmm.
never built exaggerated temples.
That's an important point. I think everybody should understand that.
Yes, and
The,
Maratha means not the Maratha what they talk today. I
hmm.
don't mind any politician gunning for me. Maratha means Marathi speaking.
Hmm.
Kunbi Maratha means farmer.
Hmm.
Balutedar Maratha means those who work like blacksmith,
Hmm. Hmm.
goldsmith, and
Hmm.
all those, and Brahmin Marathas.
Hmm.
So when they used to say Marathas have coming, Maratha army is coming, that consisted of everybody.
Hmm.
You see? So that is also another misconception.
Yes.
Everything has become political.
Yes. Yes. And Shivaji and Aurangzeb are two major.
Major, and somebody even told me not to write books, you will be in
yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
But after so much book sale, and I'm not in different languages and audible, nobody has asked me anything as yet.
Yeah.
But references are there, you see,
Yeah.
based on references.
We have talked about the relation of Shivaji with Aurangzeb. Now coming to his son
Yeah.
Sambhaji, who is in question this evening.
Yeah.
How was his relations with the Mughals?
Sambhaji's relation with the Mughals.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, Sambhaji was made a Mughal Mansabdar. If you read my Frontiers, you will know Purandar Peace Treaty. When Mirza Raja Jai Singh, one of the very good Mughal army general, okay, he had come to the Deccan and he had already taken Purandar, and he was massacring. He had made small columns of people, and army columns, and he used to send all across the Deccan and kill villagers in Chhatrapati Shivaji's terrain. So Chhatrapati Shivaji was forced to, at that time he was not Chhatrapati, he was Shivaji Raja. He was forced to sign a Purandar peace treaty. But when Mirza Raja Jai Singh said that you become our Mansabdar in the south, Chhatrapati Shivaji knew, Shivaji Raja knew, if he becomes Mansabdar, he will be immediately posted to the Afghan borders, where you are at the mercy of the emperor, a Bacha. He used to do very, very powerful warriors. He will post. Even Jaswant Singh Rathod, he posted, you must have read, he was posted to Hindu Kush Mountains to invade Kabul. So, so Chhatrapati Shivaji Raja cleverly put his son's name as a Mansabdar. And what was the age of Sambhaji Raja? Age 7. So at the
Wow.
age of 7, he was made a Mughal Mansabdar.
Hmm.
Okay. Then as a Mughal Mansabdar, he had to go and attend Badshah Aurangzeb's 50th birthday
Hmm.
in Agra. So you know all that story, no? They go to Agra.
Hmm.
There, of course, they were imprisoned and they escaped. And again, after that, when they came back, again after 2-3 years, he was still a Mughal Mansabdar. He was asked to go to Aurangabad to attend Muazzam, who was the Prince Muazzam's court as a Mughal Mansabdar.
Hmm.
So he was not new to the Mughal ways, you know. When the children play, when Shivaji Raja played horse riding with his friends,
Yeah.
Sambhaji Raja had a big burden on his back
Yes.
as a Mughal Mansabdar.
Hmm.
He had lost childhood. His childhood was gone, and he was also kept as a surety
Hmm.
in Mirza Raja Jai Singh's camp. You see. So he knew that, and as a kid, as a small child, they must have behaved also well with him. They, of course, Aurangzeb wanted to capture him, but Muazzam helped him to escape. Muazzam, Prince Muazzam, Aurangzeb's son, Badshah Aurangzeb's son.
Hmm.
So they, in a way, they helped him. Diler Khan had given, when Sambhaji Raja was small, he was given gifts by the Mughal Mansabdars, other Mansabdars. As a small child, they must have treated him very well, you see. They didn't treat him cruelly that time. So there must be some kind of perception as a child. You know. It's children think differently, you know, when
Hmm.
they go through. So he must have thought that time, so much exposure to the Mughals, he must have thought that, yeah, Mughal is also his world, you see. It is also his part of his world.
Hmm.
So eh, some Itihaskar say that he was too mature. That time people were so mature that they used to think differently. A 7-year kid will not think like a 7-year kid. But as a mother of 2 boys, I tell you, 7-year kids will think like 7-year old kids, any part of the world and any time of the world. You see.
Hmm.
So as a woman author, I could see how the other women behaved, what passive aggression they must have shown, and how, as a kid, Sambhaji, 7-year-old kid, he must have thought or perceived the world. So Mughals were a part of him. His father had put him there, you see,
Hmm.
maybe for political reasons, but a child doesn't know about it, you see. I feel it is a little complicated issue.
Yeah.
That is why I wanted to write it as a fiction and analyze his mind. You see, in
Hmm.
non-fiction, you cannot do that. You have to just state facts.
And what about the later part of his life, the 20 plus, and when he was?
Yeah. So what happened? As I have done the psychoanalysis of Sambhaji Raja, Chhatrapati, there were a lot of problems at home for him. You know,
Hmm.
because his stepmother, Soira Rani Sahib, she had a son, but she was, during the coronation, she was made as a queen consort, and she expected, of course, any mother would feel, okay, any woman will feel, it's a womanly jealousy, you know, womanly feelings that my son should get the my son should be made as a crown prince, you see. So I don't blame her also. It's just the human nature. It's just that. So she, after her child was born, which was, I think, 13 years after Sambhaji was 13 years when
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
son was born,
Hmm.
her attitude changed.
Hmm.
And some historians say, no, 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 she was very innocent. Only ministers conspired against him. It is logically thinking, without the royal backing, it is not possible only for ministers to do this, conspire to this extent. Not possible. If you read my book, you can understand. You know, they were all together and they were all against him. And then Chhatrapati Shivaji also did not have that much time to spend with Sambhaji, who always sought validation from his father. Yeah, because he had only father left, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So when the father did not take him to the southern expedition, he thought, where will I show my bravery? He was a trained sportsman, trained horse rider. He was
Hmm.
trained in various weaponaries. He was a Sanskrit scholar. He has already written 2, 3 manuscripts, in one in Braja Bhasha.
Hmm.
He was a brilliant man. So he was restless. So he said, I can show something, and Mughals are also a part of my life. But then he realized, you know, later on, he was too young, I think, 19, 20, to take that decision that time. So I feel that way.
I am back. I'm really sorry, everyone, for this internet glitch. I'm really sorry. Yeah, so we were talking about the attitude of Sambhaji towards the Mughals when
Yeah.
my internet stopped working somehow.
Yeah, but then it changed. You know,
Yeah.
he had seen the beauty and glamour of Agra, and he had seen the Prince Muazzam's beautiful palaces in Aurangabad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when he joined Diler Khan, he saw the ground reality
Hmm.
and how cruel the Mughals were and what they did to innocent people, and his attitudes changed immediately.
Hmm.
So that is also there in the book, what he had to face at the camps. You know, that I'm not going to say
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
nobody will read my book then.
Yeah. Two last questions before we take some audience question. One or we
Sure,
have
sure,
some audience questions.
sure.
First is, uh, if you can briefly tell us about the tragic end of Sambhaji's life in battle. Secondly, the time between, because you are working on another project, I suppose, that is on the time between Sambhaji's death to the death of Aurangzeb.
Yeah.
What happened between that time? So these are the two last questions. Then we'll open the floor for the audience
Yeah.
questions.
So Sambhaji was not killed in the battle. Actually, he was caught. A very, very cleverly caught by Bacha Aurangzeb, because it was not possible for the Mughal army to go into the mountains, you see. So when he was caught, at that time, Bacha Aurangzeb had already won Qutub Shahi and Adil Shahi. And you, as written in the book, he already had 7 to 8 crores of rupees cash in hand. And he was buying all the Watandars back, left, right, and center. And he was also trying to bribe all the fort commanders, Maratha fort commanders. So though 250 or 275 fort commanders refused, many of them gave in because they saw no future of Marathas in that. You know, they saw now we are finished. That time, Sambhaji Raja thought there is only one way I can light an inferno of patriotism in the hearts of the Marathas. What had Aurangzeb lit? Aurangzeb had lit a fire of jihad in the hearts of his soldiers. Okay. You die, you become Shaheed. Okay.
Hmm.
So Sambhaji Raja thought there is a way. So what Aurangzeb asked, now many historians say or fiction writers say that Bacha Aurangzeb asked Chhatrapati Sambhaji, that time he was Chhatrapati, to convert to Islam. But I don't think, logically not possible. Logically, Bacha Aurangzeb asked for the keys of all the remaining forts
Hmm.
and told Chhatrapati Sambhaji to tell those fort commanders to surrender.
Hmm.
So if that, because he knew it is impossible to take over the forts.
Yeah.
You have read about Ramshesh war. It took 2 to 3 years to fight Ramshesh fort
Hmm.
besiegement, and they did not win Ramshesh fort, which is not very tall, very high, near in Baglan area in Nasik.
Hmm. Hmm.
So Bacha Aurangzeb wanted a quick fix.
Hmm.
Give him life and take all the 250 forts. So
Hmm.
Chhatrapati Sambhaji saw the opportunity to win the war against Badshah Aurangzeb by dying in the hands of Aurangzeb.
Hmm.
How, that you have to read. I'm not going to elaborate on that, you know.
Yes, yes,
So that
yes,
has to be little secret in the
yes,
book. How?
definitely. So once again, this is the book Life and Death of Sambhaji. For those who are asking in the comments, this is the book. It is available on Amazon, and you can get this book. Write your
Now, your
reviews.
second question I want to
Yeah, yeah,
answer.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So second question I want to say is, yes, I'm thinking of writing a book from the death of Sambhaji to till the death of Aurangzeb, because Badshah Aurangzeb could never win the war. The fire lit by Chhatrapati Sambhaji's death in the hearts of the Marathas finished him. So that is a very beautiful period of Maratha history. You know, though it is very brutal, bloody, it lot of conspiracies, because Chhatrapati Sambhaji's wife and child Shahu are with Aurangzeb, imprisoned. So that period is very poignant. I feel, and I feel like writing on that. I've started collecting references. That's about all.
That's amazing. So, how do you find archives approachable during the pandemic time? Because it is a
It's
very
all
difficult time.
many are online,
That's
and
great.
many books I have already. You see,
That's amazing.
so from Mumbai, somebody is shipping them because they are in my Mumbai house.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So that was those are my questions that I had for you on this beautiful
thank you,
book.
thank you.
And the narrative of this book is really amazing, and I think young people, if I count myself as a young
Of course,
person,
of
people
course.
of my generation will love these kind of books,
Yeah,
because these new narratives of history, the very in novel formats, these
yeah,
are much more, I think, approachable for the for non-history people, not
correct.
just history but non-history people who are interested in knowing
Yes,
about
yes, yes.
past. So these narratives are much more engaging, I think, and I think more and more books like these should be made available. So before we start the session, I would also ask you, because Penguin has been working a lot on these kind of books. They come up with they just recently published another book called The Story of the Six by Sarabpreet Singh, and now
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Life
yeah,
and Death of Sambhaji.
yeah.
um, would you like to briefly tell us your experience with Penguin, working with Penguin and
Yes,
with
yes.
Vaishali
Very
Mathur?
important question.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. The thing is, I had sent my first manuscript of Frontiers to Vaishali. And after, in between, I got some other publisher, and I was very new in India. So I went and published first part of Frontiers of Karma, I called it, and first part I published with them. I had written two parts, and then and then they had no distribution at all. See how even authors should learn from my falling down and getting up kind of experience. Then one fine, beautiful morning, Vaishali called me and they said, "Hey, we want that book of yours because you had juxtapositioned Aurangzeb and Shivaji, you see, which very few authors have done. They have put down Badshah Aurangzeb. If you don't have a brilliant, see, there was a Marathi analyst, Narhar Kurunkar. He said, if you do not if you do not understand Badshah Aurangzeb, you do not understand Chhatrapati Shivaji. So she was very quick in, she took my manuscript and then she went ahead with Frontiers. I really thank her. And then Frontiers, yeah, did as well as Challenging Destiny for some reason. But I met Vijesh. Maybe I didn't promote also it, and something went, I don't know what happened. Maybe it's too big, but it's those who have read it have fallen in love with that book. So then when Challenging Destiny was nominated for in two categories for Raymond Crossword Book Awards, in that function I met Vijesh, who is Penguin's in charge of Indian authors. So he said, you must keep writing on this subject, you know. So then I called Vaishali and then we said on what immediately, because there are some years which are not, I have not written about those years of Chhatrapati Shivaji, on Chhatrapati Shivaji. And we both thought that Sambhaji would be very exciting to write. Yeah. So then she said that and she played a very big role and they provided me with fantastic proofreaders and copy readers, story reader. And Vaishali herself edited stories. And then I learned from what mistakes I made in Frontiers. And then, Sambhaji. It's a big process actually.
Yeah.
But they are amazing publishers. And I just love, I would love to work for my third book also with them if they take it. You see?
So,
And
Vaishali, if you are
history.
watching this, many congratulations to you for bringing out this book. We'll open the floor for the audience question now, and this is by Zainab Nakwi. Her question is, I think she has. There are two questions by Zainab. First question is, did Sambhaji, unlike Shivaji, give into casual rape and plunder, especially with the sieges of Mughal forts like Burhanpur, or is it just the overstatements of history writers who are allied with the Mughal cause?
First of all, Burhanpur, it doesn't have a fort. It is a walled city. And there was no rape or anything at that time. But plunder, yes, Marathas did plunder. They needed money to build a nation. And when Mughals had plundered so much of their territory, for Sambhaji's first assignment was to plunder Burhanpur. So he went to Burhan, and Burhanpur is where Bacha Aurangzeb's mother delivered Aurangzeb. You see, and actually Shah Jahan wanted to build Taj Mahal in Burhanpur, not at Agra, in the beginning. So they plundered. Burhanpur is a walled city that time, and there were 17 markets which were outside the city. So what the Marathas did, they alienated, the war of alienation, they alienated the city from the bazaars and they attacked the bazaars. And Sambhaji Raja was so angry because he just had an experience how Diler Khan raped and plundered from Bijapur to Panhala, the in between area which belonged to Adil Shahi kingdom. He had witnessed that. So he said, plunder everything. Whatever we can take on 2,000, 3,000 mules, we'll take. And whatever is left, we'll burn it. It is written in my book. Yeah. But there were no rape. There was no question. They never entered the city at all. And Burhanpur doesn't have a fort, you see. So that way, this entire battle is explained in my book.
Yeah.
And
the second question of Zainab was about the Hindu Rashtra
which I already answered.
Yeah, you have already answered.
Yeah.
The next question is a Mehru Jafar ma'am, and her question is, if Akbar was Mughal emperor at that time, of Aurangzeb, would Akbar also have used religion in the same way that Aurangzeb did, or he would have found a more creative administrative policy against the Marathas?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, but I will answer it to my capacity. Akbar was not overtly religious, and even Pacha Aurangzeb used religion in in Delhi. If you read my book, in Delhi he massacred people under the feet of elephant when he brought in jizya. He brought in jizya tax, and Hindus were humiliated. You cannot write a check and put it in the bank by paying tax. That Akbar would not have done. But Akbar did try to attack Ahmednagar and try Deccan. That time Chand Bibi fought with him, you see, from Ahmednagar fort. I don't know that part of the history, but he did try. He did win. Ahmednagar. The problem was, again, the land was in the Watandar's hands. So it was very difficult for any great administrator to come and establish their rule where the entire land is the hands of the Watandar speaking Marathi, the sons of the soils. You see, it was very difficult for him to establish his rule. He had to go back. He did try. He did. Invasion started from Akbar's time. Invasions didn't start from Aurangzeb's time. It started from Akbar's time. But therefore, when this is what Chhatrapati Shivaji realized, that if the power is in the Vatandar's hand, maybe they are sons of soils, maybe they are Marathas, his Raj or his kingdom is going to be always vulnerable. So the history starts from there. Akbar also tried to invade. Then Humayun invaded. Humayun also invaded. That time Nizam Shahi fought with them. And Chhatrapati Shivaji's father fought along with, I forget the name of the Muslim Sardar of Nizam Shahi, very brave. And extraordinarily, he was extraordinary in guerrilla warfare. So I just don't know. How can I forget his name? You know, actually, a book should be written on him. So he was bought as a gulam, and then he became the Sardar of Nizam Shahi. He fought these forces, Mughal forces. And Daulatabad fort was there, which stood in the between. So Mughals could not descend down, you see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Which online archives? Okay. Arjun, in the book itself, very
Bibliography is
surprisingly,
given.
yeah, very surprisingly, in a historical fiction, you'll see bibliography, which is a great thing. So amazing thing. I was really reading the bibliography when you were talking. So these are the references that are given in the end of the book. Very rare in a historical fiction that I have come across.
That penguin actually was very sweet, you know.
Yeah. So thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time to do this
No,
session.
I'm
And
quite.
we were planning for 40 minutes. It has gone for for an hour almost.
I know.
So
I'm
it
so
was such
sorry
an
for that.
interesting session. And this book is again available on Amazon. So those
And
who
I
are
want
interested,
all of you to read it and review it on Amazon.
yeah, definitely. So we'll drop the link in the YouTube channel description.
Yes.
Don't forget to get the book. Don't forget to subscribe the Carwan YouTube channel, because we need your support to sustain this initiative. Thank you so much, Medhaji, for taking out
Thank
time.
you for, asking me the right questions. And yes, if I could, I'm successful in unfolding this history to youngsters like you. I'm successful.
Yeah, and there are many more interesting stories in this book. I have read half of the book yet, and I'm in the process of reviewing it very soon on the Instagram page of Carvan. So rest assured, those who follow Carvan, this is a great historical fiction. Those who are interested in reading fiction, this book is for you. Thank you so much, and have a great evening ahead.
Thank you, Ishan. You too, and all of you, thank you for coming for the session. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank